Sometimes in life there are things that can be confusing or overwhelming. One of these is the concept of goals or goal setting. How do I know what I should set my goals for? How much should I set so that I don't feel overwhelmed or underachieved? This idea can be derived from short term or long term, and that's the question that we will be trying to answer as we go through this presentation. To start, you should look at the idea of SMART goals. This is something that I've learned all through my years of school, and it's the idea that the word SMART spelled out can help you remember your goals. S being for specific, M being for measurable, A being for attainable, R being for relevant, and T being for time bound. S for specific means that when you set a goal, you should make it very specific so that it's easier to attain. M stands for the idea that there should be a way to define if you have achieved your goal or not. If you don't set something that you can achieve, then it's not going to feel like a goal, and you're never going to feel like you can reach it. And that follows along with A. A is the idea that your goals need to be attainable. And what this means is that you should set goals that you know that you can achieve eventually. And R stands for relevant. Relevant is the idea that your goals should pertain to you and that they should be something that you want. And that's one of the most important concepts when you go through goal setting. The last one is T for time bound. This is the idea that maybe you want your goal to be achieved in a year, or maybe you want your goals to be achieved in 10 minutes. It's something that you need to decide yourself, but it's one of the many important things in the SMART goal aspect. One of the goals that we'll be talking about is the idea of long-term goals. So how do you know if long-term goals is what's right for you? Well, a long-term goal is a goal I like to think of where you dream big. So it's not your small ones like, I want to go wash the dishes. It's your goals like, I want to be a doctor someday. It's your dreams that you dream about. And so when you're setting these ones, the biggest idea is just to think about what you really want. And don't worry about it being unachievable or anything. Just write down what you want to become, and then that could be a long-term goal. It's also something that should be thought out, because if you're going to be spending that much time on a goal, then it needs to be thought out and be something that you're sure you want to try and achieve. And then last but not least, the main concept of a long-term goal is the idea that it's a big picture. To achieve a long-term goal, you're going to have to achieve other things, but it's the big picture of what you want to come across. So ideas for long-term. You could think of a career. So what do you want to achieve? Do you want it to be something that gives you money? Do you want it to be something that you enjoy? It's something that you would like to see yourself doing in a couple of years. And financially is another idea. So is finances important to you? Do you want to be able to save a certain amount of money? Do you want to be able to make a certain amount of money? Another thing that could be considered a long-term goal is education. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to earn a degree of some sorts? Maybe you already earned a degree and you want to earn a master's. That's another long-term goal. Or maybe you want to learn a new language or something. That's another long-term goal. Another long-term goal could be family. Would you like to get married? And then if you get married, do you want to have kids? Is that something that you would like to obtain? Another long-term goal could be something artistic. Like, do you want to pursue something in art? Do you want to fuel your artistic side and maybe try a painting class or something to become more artistic? Another one is physical. So maybe you want to become more healthy. We all know that that can't happen in one day. So it's a long-term goal because it's going to happen over a long period of time. You're going to need to spend months, even years, eating right and being active and working out and not giving up to try and obtain that physical ability that you want to be. And then another one could be you time. So some people are into meditation, some people are into yoga, whatever you want. Maybe you want to discover yourself more, and those are certain things that you could try and see if it helps. But the only way you're going to figure out if it helps is if you do it over a long period of time and then see your results. And last but not least, another idea could be public service. Maybe you want to start helping out your community, and if that's something that you want to help out your community, you can't just do it once. You need to keep doing it if you want to see those effects in your community. decisions. So the way to make a decision for what goals you want is to think about what you want in your life. Just get a paper down and start just writing in everything that you've ever wanted. And then what I've personally done is I've chose like 2 that are the most important. And then those are my long-term goals. And especially for long-term goals, the fewer the better because they're so hard to achieve. And last but not least, the most important aspect is you have to do it for you. If you don't set your goals for you, then it's not going to work. And you're not going to want to achieve them and you're going to give up. Now on to the next one. If you don't like the long-term goal aspect, there's also the short-term goal aspect. And these are completely different than long-term goals, but if you think about it, these can help you achieve your long-term goals. So these ones are more particularly based off of time. And the way I think of them is I think of a to-do list. I'm huge into writing to-do lists. So things like wash the dishes, do my laundry, make my bed. Those are all short-term goals, but they're things that you can achieve and receive satisfaction from very quickly. And so this kind of is a better use of goals if you want to just try and develop good goal-seeking skills. Then I would start with short-term. An example of a short-term is, say you want to start eating healthier. That's a short-term goal. So you could stop eating sugar. You could stop eating fast food for 6 months and see if it helps you. And then, if you think about it, this short-term goal could pertain off of the long-term goal we talked about earlier about physical and being healthy. This could be one of the first steps you take to achieving that. So, which one should you pick, short-term or long-term? For me personally, I think that a mix of long-term and short-term is the best combination. And this is because if you set your long-term goals and then try and make your short-term goals push you towards your long-term goal, then it's the best of both worlds. But like it says here, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and people need the simple satisfaction of a short-term goal, and they can't continue on with a long-term goal. So, when you should use the long-term, I think that you should use the long-term for things that you have always wanted but have never had the will to work for. And then if you don't need instant gratification, then long-term is definitely your way to go. And another one is it's for the dreamers, particularly because it's harder to achieve. But the main one for the long term is if you don't need that gratification, then the long-term goals are particularly for you. For the people who do need that gratification, definitely stick with the short-term goals because you need that change, you need that self-satisfaction of knowing that you got something done. But it's also for the people who like to do more than one thing at once. You need to have change, you need to be able to see things differently and feel like you're making a difference right at that moment. So, as for asking yourself, what one should I pick? I think that it's good to, take out a sheet of paper and see if you can just answer these 3 questions. So the first one is just what does A stand for in SMART goals? And this is important because if you don't understand the SMART goals and what SMART stands for, then you shouldn't be starting to set some goals because you need to understand first. And then number 2 is just kind of thinking like, hey, why might a long-term goal be best for me? And then number 3 would be, why do you think it's best to use both short and long-term goals? Do you think that it would be right for you? Do you think that maybe you're just more of a short-term person and you can't deal with long-term? Or do you think that you're more of a long-term person? Whatever it is, I hope that you are able to start setting goals and feel that achievement and attainment by completing them.